Yes, hello, welcome along. For those of you who don't know, my name is Matty and I'm from Broxton and I run a paving and landscape company based in Liverpool. So today I'm going to be talking about what is in my toolbox, the tools that I need and I use on a day-to-day basis. Many of these tools that I've got have a sentimental value because they're being passed down from other pavers or they're being adapted for certain tasks, but each and every one of them have its own specific use and are very important to me. So the purpose of this video is to give you a bit of an insight to what I carry around in there, but it's also to help any people starting out in the trade, DIYers who are taking on jobs such as patios, driveways, brickwork, and a whole lot more. Right, okay, let's start with the toolbox itself. It is a Stanley Fatmax water seal, so ideal for outdoor use, leaving your tools out on the job when it's raining because it is fully watertight. Two strong clasps at the front there. And then this little ridge here is quite handy for when you're cutting bits of timber down. Like quite often when we're setting out, we're cutting pegs down, so put the timbers in there and chop them down there. So yeah, it's good, solid, not too big. It's perfectly adequate for everything that I carry around and I use. Flip it open. So on the top you've got this little tray, which is handy for all like your little bits. Let's start with the boat levels. So two little boat levels, I use these for mainly setting when I'm putting like an edge course in with block paving and curbs to align, things like that. So we'll just use it for that, very handy. I've had this one about 2 years. It is a Stabila, I think. And I use this one mostly now because it's nice, it's a bit smaller than that. So it's good for the block. This one on my left, this is a Castelli one, and I bought that when I was about 16, 17. I can remember going to a tool shop and I bought this, and I bought a 3-foot Castelli level, which I had up until recently, and then it's gone missing, which I'm gutted about. But yeah, two little boat levels, very handy, very important. And then we've got our line blocks. These are just a plastic line block. The make of those is Ragini. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ragni. And yeah, good substantial blocks. I quite like them. And then string line. Got another line on the job. I always have a couple of line and pins. These are footprints pins and a good strong line, which I'll show you about now. So this one here is, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. I think it's German or Swiss, but it's a good line because it's not too thick and it's very strong, doesn't fray. And yeah, I've used them a long time and they are good. So what I'll do, I'll read it out, spell the letters out, and then if anyone wants to know, you can write it down and have a little search where to get them from. I got this from Amazon. So it's MAURERSCHNUR, brick line. So yeah, here are the lines I use. And then little tape, little pocket tape, 5-meter tape. I don't usually spend too much money on tapes because they don't last that long. So anything does me really. But having said that, we had a stainless steel one with like holes in it, which you could wash out. I haven't got one at the moment. Someone sent one out to us and it was really good. It lasted for a long time. So yeah, stainless steel. The only thing I found with it, the numbers were a little bit hard to read on it because it's basically steel with just like an imprint on it. So they were a bit hard to read, but it lasted a long time because you can wash it out. It had like a steel frame but with gaps in, so you could square like the hose in, put it in a bucket and clean it. But yeah, just a little tape. And then let's go on to these little jointers. So we use these mainly for pointing brickwork. Quite often if you've got a textured brick, we like to do like a flush joint, we'll just set back and mill off the face, so it picks up the contours, the arris of the brick. So we use it for that, and like undercopings, finishing undercopings, we use it a lot. This was longer, it's just been cut down and adapted, and then this one I've had for a long time. Again, that's been cut down and bent. It's just handy to have this little heel here for bits of pointing, and that's a bit wider, obviously that's a little bit narrower. Also handy, I've been using it this week for when we're laying Indian stone, the wet mix pops up into the bed, so I've been using this just to scrape out the mortar in between, so it's ready for pointing, because you don't want to leave the mortar in there and then try and chop it out after. So just keep it clean with this as we go. So I've been handy for that. And then 2 little brick jointers just for like a rounded joint on brickwork or paving. We used to do a lot of, before we used flow points a lot, we used to do like a 3-to-1 mix and hand point the flags. And then we used to use a brick jointer on it, so there's 2 different widths. For obviously Indian stone, you've got variable joints, so narrower end there and then a wider one there. So we don't use them that much, but always handy to keep in your box. And then this is another little jointer. Got this from a guy called The Traditional Bricklayer. He was selling some off, he got these off a floorboard in like a few 100-year-old house, and he got them all cut down. And so I bought a couple of these. I've got this one and I've got a smaller one which is on the job, and mainly use it for pointing lime mortar on brickwork. It just gives it a nice finish. So yeah, that's handy. A bit of history behind it too. And then this last little bit on the pointing trowels, on the finishing trowels, this is a decorator gave me this, and it's handy, like I said before, for finishing undercopings, little fiddly tricky areas. You'd be surprised how much use that does get. So that's a handy little trowel. And then obviously a knife just for opening bags of cement and cutting your packs of flags open, always handy. And then marking tools, so this gets used more than this. This is a paving marker, like just a chalk. So I usually use this for on a tarmac driveway, if we're bringing the paving down and then we've got to cut back the pavement at the threshold, put a straight edge down and mark it with that. It's good for that. I always say the more accurate your mark is, the more accurate your cut is. And with a Sharpie, you get a nice, accurate, fine line, so your cuts are going to be more precise. It's good for certain things, but you can't beat a Sharpie. And then just a couple of tingles there. For anyone who doesn't know, these just hold your line in place, stop it moving up or down or left or right. You just put them at the end of like a run of brickwork, or if you're laying flags to a line, you can put them either end on your flags, hold them down with a brick, and then it just keeps it in the right position. You can get metal ones. I've got a couple of them, but I don't like them. I find the line holds better in the groove in this, whereas the metal ones move up and down and bend a bit. So yeah, I like these plastic singles. So that's the top, and then delve into the bottom. I've got an array of tools in here. Just start with this first. So this is just a little spanner for changing the blade on the whizzer. You need that with you. Just keep that in there. That's just a pimped up version of the standard one you get when you buy the whizzer itself. And we'll go on to a couple of hammers here. So we've got a 2.5 pounder and a 4 pounder. I've only recently bought this 2.5 pounder because I use Jacobs and I quite liked it. Maybe I'm getting old and this is getting a bit heavy, but yeah, 2 lumpies there. And we've got some more hammers here. So brick hammer, use this obviously for splitting brick, but mainly I use it for paving when I'm laying sets, cubes. So it's multi-purpose. You can lay the set obviously with the hammer head, and then you can spin it round to loosen your bed and adjust your bed with that end. And then also you can trim your set, so you're doing it to a radius, you can spin it round and just trim your set with this end. So yeah, that's what I mainly use it for. And then a little scut jammer, ideal for cleaning brick off. We do a lot of reclaimed brickwork, mainly because there's a lot of it in the area around here. So this is better than a brick hammer or hammer and bolster for cleaning off, because you've got these little points here, so it tends to loosen the mortar better than what it does with like a brick hammer. And you can change these around, you can spin around, and also obviously knock them out with a hammer and replace them. So scuts. And then this little one here, this like a mini pick. I think I got that from like a car boot sale or something. I definitely didn't buy it new. And we use this mainly for, say if we're repointing brickwork, like handmade brick and the joint's quite wide, you can ship it out with that. Or also paving, if you're repointing and it's got a wide joint, this is ideal for firing into the joints and pulling out, scraping back. Handy little hammer. And then we will move on to the chisels. Just a 2-inch bolster, 4-inch bolster. Mainly use those just for splitting blocks. Say you're laying concrete block, building walls, use them for that. Splitting blocks down. Don't really use them for much else. And then we've got a long chisel here. So mainly this gets used for, say if you're breaking out in a tight area or in a hole, a standard chisel, you're not going to get it in there, so you can hold this at the top and then in the hole and break down. So that's about what, 400 long. It's handy chisel. And then this one gets a lot of use. This is just a 1-inch chisel, nice solid old one. I think I got that from eBay with a few others. And yeah, use that quite a lot. 1-inch chisel, nice weighty chisel that. And then plug-in chisel. I've had this is a footprint one. I've had this probably since I was, well, 18, something like that. And for those who don't know, this is just used for chipping mortar out of brickwork. So it's angled like that, so it forces the mortar out of the joints, or like opening joints in flags as well, taking the mortar out. So just chips it out. Plug and chisel. And then a little tiny chisel. We mainly use this not for breaking out or anything, it's mainly for just dressing pieces of stone. Like for instance, this week we've been laying Indian stone on a radius on a step, so we wanted to just dress the edge slightly just to make it flow and curve around. So we just nibbled it off with this little chisel. Very handy. And then this is a pitching chisel, and if you look down you'll see there it's straight on this side rather than central like on a bolster. So this is again used for dressing stone, cutting flags in the old days before still saws. They used to cut flags like this with a pitcher, so you can see the force is directed more back into where you're cutting, so you're concentrating your cut on a certain spot rather than just breaking out with that. So yeah, we use that for dressing stone, cutting stone. And onto the mauls. So this one here, this is a simplex hammer. I've probably had this about 3 years. It's got 2 different heads on it there. You can change and put different ones on. I think I've never changed them, but I think you can spin and change the heads on those. So it's got a bit of weight behind it. It's good for laying curbs, and it's got a bit more weight to it than this one. This one it's had a lot of use, put it that way. I've had this one again since I was about 18. It's got a fiberglass handle on it, and yeah, not as weighty as that, but I use this mainly for like setting blocks in, along with when I've got the bolt level line set up, doing edgings for driveways, things like that. Little maul. I'll leave that one for a little bit. And then we have got the trowels. So an array of trowels there. We'll start with the pointers.
got three little pointing trowels, big, medium and small. So this one and this one really mainly used for haunching around the edges of patios and block edgings, things like that, and also pointing brickwork. And I've had these for about 3 years. They were an eBay purchase and they've obviously been well looked after by the previous owner, and it's, yeah, handy little trowels. And then this one here has been cut down from, it was similar size to that, and I needed it for a specific job, so I just cut it down and then I've kept it, and it comes in handy for like flaunching around grids, things like that, in manholes, like little awkward areas. It's handy little trowel. Looks funny like, but it is good. Bucket trowel, so we mainly use this for when we're using our paving primer, like in the bucket, just scrape it out round the edge, also scoop it up and throw it onto the back of your flag, and then spread it out with your trowel for, you know, pasting the back of your flag. That's what we mainly use it for. And when we're flow pointing as well, it's handy, scraping the buckets out and also getting in up against walls and things like that. And then I've got two trowels here. Believe it or not, this one in my left hand was the same size as this when I bought it. So I've had this one since I was 17, and it's had a lot of wear, as you can see. This one I bought off eBay about 3-4 years ago, and it's going to be a replacement for this if this gets too small. So this is handy for laying block, like spreading out, and also cutting off at the back because it's longer, it reaches down better. So yeah, it's a nice trowel. And then this one, yeah, it's had a new handle on it probably about 5 years ago, and yeah, it's had a lot of wear. You can see how it's worn. It's worn more like on this side, I think, probably because when I'm doing my bed, when I'm laying the flags, it mainly move the gear around like that. So yeah, you can see how it's worn. But yeah, look after it. That's the thing to do. Little and often, keep on top of it, and it serves you good. This is literally how my toolbox is. I haven't like prepped anything differently. I just wanted to show you how it is on a day-to-day, and it's not being staged or anything. A couple of things that I could do with doing, actually looking at it, taking the tops off the chisels there. You can see as they start to get warm, when they're like this, every now and then you've got to just grind them back and stop these burrs from mushrooming on the top like this one. So that needs doing, so it just needs grinding back, just for safety really, because if they ping off when you're hitting it with the hammer, could catch you. So that is something that needs doing. And then onto this, so a bit of WD-40, just good for keeping it spraying on your trowels or any of your machinery that needs a bit of attention. And then oily rag, I love an oily rag. So yeah, every day the trowels get cleaned, dried, and then I rub them over with an oily rag. And then at the bottom of here, masonry nails. So these are very handy to keep in your box, because basically for setting lines, say you're putting an ACO in across a building, and you can't always get a pin in, because where you want to lay your ACO is where your pin would be. So little masonry nail into the mortar, either end, pull your line off that, and say you're pulling a line from, you're digging out a driveway and you want to take it from the house, the brickwork, up to the driveway threshold, bang a little masonry nail in. So that, yeah, very handy to have in your box. A little bit of scratch, just cleaning your trowels if they get dirty, but they shouldn't get that dirty that you need to use it. If they have, you're not cleaning them right. But yeah, handy to have a bit of scratch in there. And then last but not least, me maul. This has laid some flags and sets, this, tell you. It's had some use, probably about 10 years old, but still going strong. It's had a couple of repairs along the way. So it's split there. I had a screw in there because the head kept dropping down. It split there, so what I did, I got some rubber glue, I think it was, and I just dropped that in first, in like, so it flooded that, and then at the top I used Seeker, I think it's EB +1, so it's like, you can feel it very flexible still, but it's done the job. I filled it up with that. So that's been years it's been like that for. And then about a year ago, the handle snapped or cracked. It was very close to breaking. So I think because what I do sometimes when I'm laying flags, so like I lean on it, like put a bit of weight on it. If I'm reaching out to put my hand there, and I think I must have leaned on it, and it's like cracked, not fully. So what I did was I put it in a vise and I drilled a 10mm or 8mm hole right the way through down the length of the handle and into the head, probably stopped around here. And then I put some polyurethane glue in it, and then whacked a metal stud right down into it. And yeah, it's been sound. It's not about, oh, just go and buy another one. It's not about that. It's the feel of it in my hand. I'm used to it, the weight of it, and I like it. So it's got a lot of meters left in it, yeah. And then also around here, we wrapped some foam around it, and then added tape. So that just gives, I prefer the handle a bit wider than the way it comes. So I just wrapped tape around it. So it's got like a slightly soft touch to it there when you're holding it, so yeah, it feels good. And if you've noticed, you'll see my tattoo. I've had that tattooed onto my arm. That's how much these tools and the job means to me, and that's why I've had it done basically. And along with these tools and my hands, they've helped provide for my family. As you can see, I'm extremely passionate about this job, but also my tools to help me do what we do. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, please just drop it in the comments and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you, all the best.